What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Time Killers podcast. I'm your host, Neil Rivera, and I am killing time today with Wesley Rivera. How's it going, Wesley?
It's great, but why does planes delivering stuff called cargo, but then when we do it in cars, it's called shipments? What else are they lying to us about?
They're probably lying to us about a whole lot more than you might realize. Also killing time with me today is Mr. Matthew Field. What's going on, Matt?
Not a whole lot. Happy to exist in a world where we have a new GTA 6 trailer.
Yeah, honestly, this is like a probably as good as it gets when it comes to like planning and recording a podcast. So we're recording this on Tuesday, the day that Rockstar sort of just dropped the second trailer for GTA 6. So that's going to be a lot of what we have to discuss today, but we do have a great show lined up for you as well. Plenty to talk about. We've been playing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 like everyone else. We're also going to recap the Borderlands state of play as well and talk about just 2K as a whole as it relates to both GTA and Borderlands. So thanks for being with us. If you don't already, we're going to have our social handles in the description of this video. Please be sure to follow us on whatever platform that you consume content on. If you're just listening to the podcast for the first time, thanks for being here. Be sure to throw us a like, subscribe to us on whatever podcast service that you use, and leave a review. Give us 5 stars and let us know why you love the Time Killers podcast. Without much further ado, let's just get into it, guys. GTA 6, the second trailer is here. We've seen it. It was about 4 minutes long. Can I get a fact checked on that real quick? But I mean,
2 minutes 46 seconds.
Okay, a little overshot that real quick. But I mean, yeah, it a little bit longer on the longer side, gives us a bit of a story overview, a good look again at Vice City. Where do you want to start with this thing, Wesley? How did you feel? Where's your hype level at for GTA 6, and take it from here?
I really wanted to avoid the hype monster on this one, but you can't go and watch this trailer and not leave with a sense of like, the rumor of it being $100, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Honestly, like, that was kind of my main takeaway too from this. Is like, damn, like, if this game, and like, there's probably a lot that we can probably caveat the trailer with, was like, that's probably running on a PS5 Pro. Like, they've already confirmed, like, there's no PC version, so like, this is probably the best looking version that they're going to have available at launch. But I mean, yeah, like, if it looks even close to this good on base hardware, like, all the rumors of it being above $70 are probably warranted. Matthew, where did you come down on the trailer? Where's your hype for GTA 6 at right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think to the point about it being recorded on a PS5, they notably did not mention whether it was on a PS5 Pro or not, which I think is interesting. You'd think if they had some kind of exclusive advertising deal with Sony, Sony would want that recorded on the PS5 Pro. But
that is interesting that they didn't call that out.
Yeah, I read somewhere that someone put in an inquiry to Rockstar 2 to ask, and they at the time of publication had not responded. I don't have the article to credit the journalist, but that I read that somewhere earlier today. But yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic. I haven't gone back to watch the original launch trailer or the trailer number 1 from late 2023, but the graphics feel like a notable improvement. Oh my gosh, like, everything trailer
looks so smooth, and like the textures realistic, and like just insane levels of detail that we're talking here. Like, and just like, I think Red Dead was like, obviously like a big moment, a big milestone for graphics in video games, but like, to see what Rockstar are doing with that engine, like, obviously on better hardware, but like in a modern setting, like, I think this is kind of what I was looking for when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and like everyone was raving about how good that game looked. Is like, no, like, GTA 6 is going to be even better, and like they're totally delivering on that front.
Yeah, I mean the graphical detail that really got me, the one that stuck out in my head the most was when you have Jason laying on the couch at home and with a PS5 controller, I might add, or what looks to be a PS5 controller, and Lucia comes home and kind of like sits on his leg, and you see the cushion that he's laying on like augment in a correctly.
Give.
Yeah, it was like oof, that looked pretty good.
I had a similar experience playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. There's this very small scene where like he's like eating a loaf of bread, and you see the bread pull from his teeth the way like a baguette would, and the exact same feeling like every 5 seconds watching this trailer.
Yeah, going back to like the just the level of detail and like the like for me what it was, honestly it was truly like that opening shot where Jason is like he's shirtless, and like just the detail that you're seeing in his, and like can we just talk about the protagonist for a second? Like first of all, like how do we feel about the story? Because like I feel like this gave us the best look, obviously, that we've gotten at the story and the characters, like a good deep dive here. How are we feeling about this, like Bonnie and Clyde style adventure?
It makes me think with Rockstar's last entry that using the term Bonnie and Clyde is very accurate. I don't think it's going to have a happy ending. And I think a lot of it, I just get this feeling from Jason seems like a very cool protagonist, but it seems like they portray him a little too, I don't know what the word is, but I feel like there's a darker side to him that they were not showing throughout that trailer.
Yeah, so my take on this is I think, the first trailer kind of focused on Lucia a little bit more, whereas this one spends a bit more time following Jason. It seems to paint, I agree with what you're saying, Wesley. It seems to paint Jason in a bit less sympathetic light, whereas Lucia it makes some mention about her being in prison due to some like a mistake or like that she was wrongly imprisoned in some way, whereas it's implied that Jason has been in prison before as well, but he's the one you see in more of the violent, like physical violence scenes here. Obviously, both are going to be engaging in plenty of actual violence, but from a character perspective, he seems to be the one that is maybe you're not supposed to think is such a good person, at least, when compared to Lucia.
They seem, one thing I'll say is that both of these protagonists, I would say, are more nuanced and like more developed than I would say that any of the three in GTA 5. Like they all kind of felt one-dimensional in different ways, whereas I feel like with these two, it does feel like there's more of an emphasis on both them individually, their pasts, who they are as people, but then like them as a couple. Like it very much feels like them as a couple are going to be like like it's going to be a big theme of the game and the story. But like, it really, like, the one thing that I noticed just in these two trailers is just like their chemistry is off the charts.
Chemistry.
And so I feel like, I feel like it's just going to be like this classic, like ride or die. Then like another thing too is like, man, you got like, both of them are just like hot in like modern Miami. Like I feel like they're really trying to open up the pool of like maximize the pool of people who are going to be interested in this game. So yeah, no, it's kind of hard to find anything about this that like really looks negative. What did you guys think about the like the secondary characters? Was there anything that stood out to you guys there?
The first character we're introduced to, his name eludes me, but I did note, and I did not fact check this, but like it's hard to mistake it. That was Stephen Root, the guy who plays Bill in King of the Hill.
I have.
Which character was he?
That first character that we're introduced to that's talking to Jason, the one who seems to be his landlord.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. So what I'll say about the secondary characters, I mean, Rockstar tends to make their side characters kind of like larger than life. They embody like one trait to the extreme, and to some degree, like you had the gun wielding guy who's selling guns, like on the television. You have the two looked like, I don't know, influencers.
I think they're like a rap duo. Side note about the guy selling the guns. Like, I love how they use the ammunition. Like, they use like the branding that's like consistent in all the, but like they put the like the Florida spin on it. Like, I just love like those little touches. That like really like, I feel like,
and that's
what
really I was going to say.
It to me.
That first character, I can't remember his name, but who may be his landlord. Yeah. He, that guy, if you have been to Florida, you have seen that man before.
Yes,
like that is an actual 100%. Person. Yeah. So they're doing a lot of work.
I was going to note
I mean,
that,
the representation in this game looks awesome. Sorry, Wes, I didn't mean to cut you off there too. But I mean, like from the South is like, if you've ever been in the South, like we all live here and we've all lived here, all of our lives. Like these, like, I mean, yes, they're caricatures, but like Matthew said, like they exist, these people, and like it is such a diverse area, but like the level of detail to which like they're nailing it on that front is crazy. Wes, you were saying.
Yeah, so I was going to point out that I read online that the ammunition guy is actually a recurring character from GTA 3 or GTA Vice City. And I love the fact that Rockstar, after, GTA 5, seeing what's-his-face from the Lost in the Dam DLC, that like now we're seeing all these random cameos of characters from previous installments, and I really do hope that we get to see a little bit of that. Maybe see how Trevor's doing. Maybe he winds up in Vice City or something. But
they always do nods to past characters.
To the topic of how well they reflect, like, these are people from Florida. I think Rockstar has a really good history of showing the American person as like a mirror to us. They have a really good, they do a really good job of kind of making these eccentric individuals, but at the same time, it's like, I've been to Florida. That person 100% exists down there.
Last thing I want to say about the going back to the topic about the main characters for a second and how they feel a lot more depth to them compared to like the GTA 5 characters. I mean, think about back to the three characters in GTA 5. You had basically two of them, Trevor and Michael, are basically satirical caricatures of a particular like
super
lifestyle.
One-dimensional, like generally unlikable. Like Trevor was funny, at least he had that going for him.
Right, but I mean, he, to your point, he doesn't grow throughout the game. He doesn't have, like you don't emerge feeling about him differently at the end of the game, than you do at the beginning, despite spending that much time with him. Whereas the lifting that this trailer is already doing in terms of putting, the backstory and making these two new protagonists into sympathetic characters, I think is on another level. So I'm expecting something closer to like an Arthur Morgan than the GTA 5 protagonists.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think Jason Schreier posted something to the equivalent of like, it really does feel like they've found the sweet spot between like how grimdark 4's story was with how like over the top, eccentric and weird 5 got at times, with especially with the characters all kind of feeling one dimensional. So yeah, definitely, like everything I've seen from these trailers definitely seems to indicate like this is a story that like it's gonna feel like the most like an HBO prestige drama, where it is like serious and should be taken seriously, but like there's probably going to be quite a bit of like levity and humor for sure.
Agreed.
Wesley, any closing thoughts on the GTA trailer before we move on?
I think with what you were saying about the character, like the character portrayal, another thing I'm going to talk about reflects on, I think they learned about what worked and what didn't work from Red Dead Redemption 2. So in Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the biggest complaints was, here's this big, open, vast world, and there's nothing to do in it. You know? Half the time you're just going from point A to point B. I don't remember, Neil, that might have been one of the big drawbacks for you when playing that game, was it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think with it being more modern, and I mean, like with GTA 5, like they kind of nailed like the kind of side activities that I want to see in like a modern GTA setting. So
Exactly.
and I'm sure with it taking place in Miami and Florida, like, I mean, there's such a diversity in locales and things that you can play with that, you know, like, and I mean, like, even as someone who knows like Florida a little bit more personally than, you know, something like LA for Los Santos, like you could do a play on like the gambling, you know, like casinos, you know, like the little like strip mall
Slot
casinos
machines.
with all slot machines in them. Like, yeah, like there's so much that you can do that's like unique to the South. Also, shout out to the South getting representation in games this year. South of Midnight was terrific. I know GTA, we didn't touch on this, but I guess we can touch on it now. Lost in the I guess sort of the hype of the trailer is news that GTA 6 is not going to come out in 2025. It's going to miss the fall 2025 release window that they were kind of targeting. Instead, we got an official hard release date of May 26th. Did I get that right?
Yep.
So that's getting pushed into what is that, Q2 of next year. So that kind of leaves a big like shout out to like, it almost feels like someone at Sucker Punch and PlayStation knew that they weren't going to hit the date, because that kind of worked out perfectly for them. They announced that October 2nd release date. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, where does this leave the rest of the year for you guys in terms of, you know, like games that are, you know, like potentially game of the year contenders? What does this do for like your like most anticipated games moving forward for 2025?
Well, for me personally, I definitely want to take a look at Night Rain. I know we're getting Onimusha this year too, right?
It's just the remaster. I don't think we're getting the full blown sequel. I think that's next year.
Oh, okay, next year. Well, no, I mean, but I was heavily looking into seeing how GTA 6 performed this year, and then kind of deciding maybe as a last year treat for myself. But no, this does open things up for me a bit. But like I said, I still have Night Rain to look forward to, and hopefully with you guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, a lot of people, a lot of developers, a lot of publishers are going to breathe a sigh of relief about their holiday numbers this year. I think it's, you know, I mean, even just speaking personally, it's going to open up a lot of other hours that I was earmarking for GTA 6 this fall. And I think, you know, moving next spring, I mean, obviously this spring hasn't exactly been slow, but spring not typically as busy a time. So I think there's going to be less concern about other games launching around the launch window. And of course, you know, you've got the summer vacation where kids and, you know, some other parents of kids have more time to play games during the summer when there's no school. So yeah, I think you know, I'm bummed that I'm having to wait that long to play it, but I think that ultimately it's a positive thing. It's going to be viewed as a positive thing for a lot of other, you know, industry players.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think it kind of works out because this year is starting to feel crowded. I mean, because like we still have Death Stranding 2, we still have like, it feels like there's like a million like games from like first time developers that like could be bangers. And like I know we're gonna hop into the Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'm just gonna say Expedition 33, the Expedition 33 discussion later, but like that very much is one of those games where it's like there's these you know, like it feels like there are these like new games from like new developers or new teams that are like kind of coming out of nowhere, and it feels like we have a ton of those left for this year. So like it still feels like there's like we could have any number of those, and then I mean like in a way, like I feel like 2026 is it's going to be good because like that instantly makes it like a contender for Game of the Year. Like obviously it's going to be the biggest property ever when it launches. So yeah, I'm just glad that 2025 games kind of get to breathe a little bit, and like maybe Death Stranding 2 will get flowers that it deserves at the Game Awards this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no shortage of other games to play this fall. I mean, we have whatever the Switch 2 is cooking post release.
We got Dune.
Yeah, there's Ghost of Yotei, obviously, which is one of the biggest ones. Marathon, which I've been playing a bit of the alpha of, and then of course whatever the new Call of Duty is. So on top of some others that I'm sure have not yet been announced. So it's not going to be. The fall is going to be fine.
Well, one of those games that we might potentially be playing this fall is Borderlands 4, which kind of lost in the GTA hullabaloo was the fact that actually got pushed up a couple of weeks. So that's now releasing September 12th. So that's up from, it was like sometime near the end of December that was originally coming out. So, I mean, obviously these are both being published by Take-Two, so like it kind of seems like, all right, we're going to push up Borderlands 4. That's going to be our big Q4 release. And then came the news that GTA was getting announced. But lost in that was also, we got a state of play, like a real big, like meaty, girthy deep dive into Borderlands 4, the gameplay, the world, the character classes. So, we all checked that out. To varying degrees, but we've also, we've played Borderlands. I've played Borderlands since the beginning. Real quick, Wesley, where are you? Like, what's your history with Borderlands? How did you feel? How do you feel about Borderlands coming into the fourth entry now?
So I've made it a fact to dip my toes into each of the Borderland games. Honestly, I dig the world of Borderlands, but playing it is just not for me personally. I mean, my husband is he's super into it. He loves those games, especially Tiny Tina's Wonderland. But there's just something about it that just never really struck a chord with me. I've seen that they're kind of trying to revamp things with Borderlands 4, try to, I'm hoping, get new players to, into the franchise, and I hope it does well, but historically it just hasn't really hit that note for me.
Matthew, what about you?
Yeah, I'm more positive on Borderlands myself. The original Borderlands was, I sank tons of time into that. I played every bit of content that was there, and really just squeezed all of the juice out of that one. And for the second game, I did that to a lesser extent. And the third game, I did. The third game is the only one I didn't finish. It kind of just hit.
Yeah, the third game is a weird one. Yeah.
Yeah, without diverting the conversation too much, I think it dipped back into the same well one too many times without notable improvements. If I recall correctly, a lot of the marketing around it was just about that it was like the next gen Borderlands, right, or something like that. And
I think that's a good segue into talking about Borderlands 4, because it really did feel like in this state of play, like they were really like the sense that I got, and like they said as much at some point later on. Also, like, just for the record, like I have also played and enjoyed just about every single Borderlands game, from the first one to Tales from the Borderlands to Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Like, I've played them all, love them. Super excited for this. But yeah, like, I mean, I think we can have a very cool conversation, or, I think we can have a conversation about the fact that, like, they're going out of their way to be like, hey, like, this is like if you didn't play 1 through 3 or any of the other nonsense, like I think, to your point, Matthew, like I think it also just kind of started to get bogged down by all these, all the characters and like recurring bits and gags and like, like especially when a game where like humor is such a big deal, like it kind of almost felt like it had gotten to a point where it was unsustainable. So like it feels like, my impression, my main takeaway from the state of play was like, hey, like this is Borderlands. Like it's a Borderlands in name only, but like it really does feel like, no, like it's like a clean slate in terms of like what the franchise is.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the recurring gags and like, minor characters are probably like the part of it that I vibed with the least. I mean, a lot of my enjoyment from this comes from the fact that it was, they rightly say, they pretty much invented the looter shooter genre, or at least
100%.
popularized it. And that was I just enjoy those, and that was big for me. But the humor has always been good, but like some of the more over the top, ridiculous humorous elements that it went for, that it felt like that they were building on top of as it tried to go bigger and better with each release. That didn't really do it for me, and so that's kind of I think where it lost me a little bit.
So how are you feeling with like the overall tone and vibe then of 4? Like where does that? I would imagine like you're feeling more positive about this one than any of the other ones.
Certainly, yes, and I think there's actually some really interesting parallels between the way that Borderlands 4 is being marketed and GTA 6 is being marketed, both following up on really satirical and like very humorous tongue-in-cheek style stories and games, and both are making it very clear that they are interested in a more grounded experience this time. They use the word grounded like at least several times in this showcase.
That was one thing that stood out to me. Definitely was the fact that they're like, we're like, I don't think I've heard the word grounded used to describe Borderlands like ever. So
never.
That definitely felt intentional, and like they definitely have a vision when it comes to this. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. As someone who I've enjoyed like the Borderlands humor, like I've appreciated it to a degree. I do agree with what you said with 3, where like I do feel like by the time we got to the 3rd, like maybe if they hadn't released the pre-sequel, but it definitely felt like we were 4 entries in at that point, and like it just felt like the juice had been squeezed out of that. So it seems like with this one, like they've got a whole new team of writers. Like I think anything to keep it away from like the more sophomoric stuff is probably a good call. So I'll be interested to see like, what it ultimately looks like. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I mean, what did like the gameplay stuff do for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two big things that stood out for me with the gameplay mechanically was, one is that they said that they're kind of toning down the loot showers or whatever that the game became known for. That was another thing about 3, is where it just felt like they had to continuously give you more and more loot, when compared to the previous games.
It kind of just like became their thing.
Yeah, and now they're like, okay, we're actually gonna like pay attention to, drop rates and things like that to make it so when you get something special, it actually feels rewarding rather than just like, every other enemy that you kill.
I got another legendary to throw in the pile. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's I think a really positive step that I think they're taking. The other thing is, I don't know if it's just me, but it looks like they're maybe scaling back on the cell shaded aspect and going for a little bit more like of a realistic looking tone.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just. Yeah,
it might have been like it seems like it might vary by locale, because like it definitely didn't seem as prominent in like there was like a darker underground area like that had a cooler color scheme where it didn't seem like as apparent, but then there were some shots that were like outside in the desert in broad daylight. It was like, oh, like I can tell. So it could be a lighting thing, it could be like, I'm sure there's any number of things, but yeah, it's I think as you get into like higher and higher definition for like visuals and like higher fidelity stuff, I think the harder that effect gets in terms of like pulling it off without it looking weird.
Yeah.
So they probably had to make concessions somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's it's hard to know how representative this will be from the final product anyway. But yeah,
it looks great. Like, I mean, it looks like it looks
yeah.
and it looks like it runs great. Like, I've always been a fan of the art style in general, but like, I do think even with whatever like the changed look is, like, I do think it still looks striking and unique. And like, I mean, yeah, to echo what you were saying earlier, like these games, like, single-handedly like almost pioneered the looter shooter genre, and like they're still among the best looter shooters. So I mean, like, I didn't watch the entirety of the state of play, but like the fact that you're calling out the fact that they're paying attention to more of the like the drop rates and things like that, like taking a more like Blizzard style, like Diablo kind of approach to it, like I think that's going to like really speak to fans of this game, which like this franchise has like a very rabid fan base, so I feel like that's the right call in sort of appeasing them. And then I think that's also going to work well with them for, like attracting new players in, because it's like, oh, this is a serious, like this isn't just like a goofy game. Like I do think that's ultimately a game that, or a call that's gonna to pay off for them, especially with like no major competition in the space this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously looking to pull in new players, but it's a big series. I mean, the recent sales figures for Borderlands 3 was that it has sold over 18 million copies, which
wow.
is a lot. So they definitely have an existing fan base that they've got to appeal to. But I do agree that some of these changes may make it a little bit more friendly. On top of the story being, mostly independent from the previous entries. Last thing that I want to call out is the maneuverability that they showed off in some of the gameplay. I swear they're taking notes from like Tears of the Kingdom, because there's that sequence where it's pretty early on in the showcase where they launched that like satellite looking thing, and then you can ride the rope up and then glide from it, like almost exactly like you can in Tears of the Kingdom, which I saw a lot of Doom, like modern Doom DNA in this as well, with like the verticality and like the hook, grappling hook and things like that. Yeah, and I think that's to me that reads like they're looking at their peers and they're taking the right notes. I think that's I was happy to see those in the showcase. Overall, I think the showcase was really good, and it did seem to get a little bit buried in some of the other news going on. I haven't seen that much chatter about it, but it's got me more excited than I was before, and that's what it's there to do. So.
I mean, honestly, like it is one of the bigger like games, I think, now, like for the rest of the year, because now, GTA obviously is going to leave a big, you called out that, there's a bunch of time that you were planning on spending playing GTA that you're now not going to, and think of all these games that it's like almost like the reverse Titanfall effect here, where like Titanfall 2 came out and there was just so much going on around it and it got buried, where now that GTA isn't coming out, all of these Q3 Q4 games that would have been buried like are probably going to find success. So that's pretty cool, and like I'm excited for Borderlands 4. I hope they find success. And yeah, I mean, to your point, like I think they're making all the right decisions here. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. When we come back, we will talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I promise that's the last time I'm going to call it by its full name. But we'll be right back. And we are back. And to close out the show, we're going to talk about Expedition 33. This is it's the debut title from Matthew. You're gonna have to gut check me on this. It's Sandfall Interactive, I believe, is the developer.
I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, that's correct.
And this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is ex Ubisoft, and like it's kind of like a hodgepodge of like ex AAA, quadruple A, like like the big players. They all came together, and this is their debut title. for those of you who don't know, this is we call it a JRPG, but the team is French. But it's, obviously JRPG inspired. So think Final Fantasy, think Persona, think, it's turn based. But it's just like AAA quality visuals, like it's running on Unreal Engine 5. There seems to be a lot of inspiration from Dark Souls and like the FromSoft games, both in terms of just like the art direction, but also just like the combat. We'll get into that. So it like, and from in terms of like review scores, like it is reviewing like unanimously across the board, like one of the highest reviewed games of the year. Seems to be universal praise for this game. So it seems to be all the buzz right now, and all three of us have played varying levels of it. Matthew, where are you at? How much have you played, and what do you think of it so far?
Yeah, so I'm pretty early on. I've played about 2 hours. I'm through the prologue. I'm into the expedition, the titular expedition here, and yeah, I mean, I can see what the hype is about. I'm not far enough in to really speak to the depths of the combat mechanics, but for the first,
I mean, let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Like the prologue just is a gut punch. You know what I mean? Like this game just comes out of the gate swinging.
Yes, extremely confident and assured intro here, where it explains all of like basically nothing to you. If you hadn't read any of the pre-release marketing, you have to basically just piece together what's happening here. It's a French, visually French. I think it's with like Belle Epoque style.
Yeah, I mean, like the name of the city is called Lumiere. If you want any sort of like idea of like how like this game is unapologetically French.
So French. And basically you walk through the last day for the people who are, who are about to get gommaged, as they say, which is the inciting event for the game, where the people who are 34 years old all die or disappear.
Yeah. So top level explanation of the game here is that like every year a like omnipotent figure known as the Paintress like paints a number, and it's always counting down from the previous year, and anyone over that number instantly dies. So it's like the whole idea of it is like it's expected, like it happens the same, like it's very predictable. It happens the same day every year, and like what does this society look like? That is like sort of built around this concept of like, okay, like if you're this age, this time next year you're gonna die. Like, okay, like how does that work? So, in the context of this world, like these people, they have started going on expeditions, trying to figure out like who the Paintress is. The idea is like, let's kill the Paintress, let's stop this cycle. Obviously, like, at the further you get in, that turns out to not be as simple as you think it is. But yeah, I mean, like it deals with heavy themes of like loss and death, and it wastes absolutely zero time getting into those. And yeah, like you said, it's just incredibly confident intro.
Right in the prologue, like less than 30 minutes in, you're already having a philosophical discussion about the ethics of bringing children into the world where, people are getting killed like this every year. Like it pulls no punches, just like right from the get-go. It jumps right in.
Yeah. I feel like I want to, keep pulling at that thread, but I will pivot instead. Wesley, what are you? How far are you in Expedition 33? What do you think of it so far?
So I'm roughly 7 to 8 hours in. I believe I'm closing up on Act 1, which has been a blast, as this whole experience playing this game has been, from a story perspective, from gameplay perspective, and combat. I'm not the type of person who likes turn-based combat, and I'm not the type of person who likes Souls-like game. So if you were to have pitched this to me as like, hey, do you want a turn-based Souls-like game on your wish list? I would have laughed at you, and here I am, just having the best time of my life playing this game.
What about that combination? Like, despite you not being interested in like either of those like systems individually, what about the combination is working so well with you?
So I think traditionally what I don't like about Souls games is I freak out in a sense. Like I panic as I'm going through this tower and having to memorize everyone's like who's going to be in here or here, and when to dodge, when to reserve my potions and stuff like that. Whereas the Souls like of this is okay. This is you're clearing out enemies. It plays into the RPG element of farming experience, and then you use the Souls-like reset to sort of like, oh, okay, now I can go through this exact same area again, and I already know how to take out all these enemies.
Yeah, once I realized that the expedition flags functioned like the like like a what is it, like a campfire in a Dark Souls game, like I was like, oh, okay, I see the vision, like I see what's happening here,
and it really works.
No, absolutely, like and like to your point, like I think the biggest part, like I guess my biggest like obstacle with these games is with Soulsborne games specifically is the sense of like spacing and timing and like like how much it almost requires like a fighting game level like understanding of like how the game is animated and how that stuff works, and like not everyone is going to like dig deep into that level, and like Elden Ring is an exception for me, but I feel like this solves that problem by making it a turn-based, like
exactly
how many games like the Mario and Luigi games, even more recent games like Sea of Stars, they have some sort of timed element to it, but this takes it a step further where I forget where I heard the comparison, but like it gets to a point where like you familiarize yourself enough with the attack patterns to where it essentially just becomes a rhythm game of like, oh, and like the game does such a great job of telling you like in a very RPG way, or traditionally RPG way, of like, oh, this enemy attacks you with this attack, or like this, even like goes into the detail of like, oh, this uses a fast combo or this uses a slow combo, so like you can mentally prepare yourself for like, oh, and like it's always going to be the same for each enemy, so like it becomes very predictable, very memorizable, and then going back to like what you were saying about like the grindability of it, is like, yeah, once you've figured out their pattern, like, you can just grind these guys for days. And I think as a JRPG, it's very accessible in that regard. And then it's also like on the other side of the coin, as like a more demanding, like timing based game, it's a little bit more forgiving in that regard. So I feel like it's a nice little Venn diagram of like two traditionally challenging genres, and it solves a lot of problems that those traditionally have.
And I want to give a big shout out to this studio, like coming out of the gate, like these were people who quit their jobs at like Ubisoft or were let go, and we turn around and we're coming out swinging with this. Like,
yeah, I mean, and like, and to their credit too, like the cast that they've assembled for this game, insane. Like, I mean, we were talking before we started recording, like the fact that they got freaking Andy Serkis as in a lead role, Charlie Cox in a lead role. You got freaking Ben Starr in a like this is a top to bottom, like and I mean, like that's not even getting into like the actual writing and story, like. There's a lot of comparisons I think that you can make to this game, like to Final Fantasy X and like those like classic PS2 JRPGs. And I feel like this absolutely nails it from like a story and writing perspective. Like it knows the subject matter it's dealing with. Like it isn't afraid to be like a little too melodramatic, but like in a way that like totally feels earned. And like these characters like are all like so unique and so memorable. Like it really does feel like the like the spiritual successor to Final Fantasy X in a lot of ways to me.
I do want to just quickly point out here, we're talking about all the influences and what this feels like. From looking at the Sandfall Interactive website, you have, I'm going to butcher this name, but Guillaume Brochet as the CEO and creative director. Obviously an important role, and he lists his favorite games here as Persona 3, Devil May Cry, Demon Souls, Journey, and Final Fantasy VIII. Which, talk about a Venn diagram like that. That's you can see the influence of each of those games. Even in just a little bit of the game I played so far.
True. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
It's, in going back to there's a lot of comparisons that I can even make, even though they're completely different games. You can draw comparisons from Expedition 33 to something like a South of Midnight, where it's it doesn't have the biggest budget, but it's got a vision and it knows what it's going for, and it absolutely just goes for it. And it also just happens to be that the people making this game, I am truly this game, Expedition 33 really solidified it for me, where it's I feel the generation, our generation that grew up playing PS1, PS2 games are now the ones making the games, because there are so many games that just feel like spiritual successor to PS2 games. And it just feels games like Expedition 33, South of Midnight, with the power of Game Pass, the backing of Microsoft, and the financial stability that provides, these games are able to punch above their weight, so to speak. And deliver game of the year quality experiences for less than full price, AAA, quadruple A experiences.
Another thing I want to add to the people who developed it, I've read a couple of articles, and I don't know if you guys know this. Do you guys know that the writer for this game originally was hired on as a voice actress because of a post she saw
that
on
floating
Reddit?
Around.
Yeah, from a post on Reddit, of all things. And then the person behind the music, they discovered via SoundCloud.
I saw that as well. Yeah, there's that element of communal, I don't know if either of you guys got into Epic the Musical. That's been a huge thing that Alex, my wife, has been hyperfixating on.
Yes.
And that is another example of something that it almost feels they went out and built a community of people, and oh, you can do this and you can do that, and they all contributed, and the end result is fantastic, phenomenal. I will say I'm the farthest, I'm probably close to finishing Act 2, and I'm assuming there's 3 acts in the game just based on how the pacing goes. And you guys haven't seen anything yet. That's, I say that knowing that the game takes some pretty big swings in the first hour or two. They escalated even from there, and it all, like I said, it all feels earned. It all feels none of it feels cheap. They totally, for a first, this is probably a shoe-in terms of the Game Awards for best debut. I guess it's debut indie. So I don't know. Is it technically independent? I know they have the deal with Microsoft, but is it an indie game?
I would probably say no. I'm actually not entirely clear on the funding for their studio.
Yeah.
I know outside of the United States, there's a lot of government subsidies and arts funding that other countries are much better about than the United States, but I don't know.
I realized
exactly
halfway through that it was debut indie. But even still, for a debut effort, whether or not they're independent or not, it puts a lot of games that are on the same sort of level on it to shame. So it's good to see a game come out and sort of notch a win. And it seems all the sales figures, despite the Game Pass deal, it seems to be selling really well. It seems to be a critical and commercial success for them.
That's 2 million in 12 days.
Yeah, pretty good for a studio that small. And I did confirm here that the publisher Kepler Interactive, who published Expedition 33, is the one who funded it. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so still not not crazy, video game industry levels of investment here. And And it's, yeah, I mean, like, I think that's kind of the theme, like the main takeaway that I'm getting from 2025 so far is that, like, between games like this and Citizen Sleeper and, like, you know, Blueprints, it just seems like there are so much more, like, it feels like the AA market, like the AA level of games are coming back, like these mid-tier games are good again. And I feel like it's going to be the perfect, like, sort of counterweight to a lot of the issues that we're seeing with the higher end AAA side of things.
And with that, really quick, do need to give a quick shout out, Matthew. You did clear the Blueprints. Congratulations, sir.
I have rolled credits, but as anybody who has played Blueprints will tell you, that is certainly not the end of the game. But yes, I've reached room 46.
Good. So
any like final thoughts on Blueprints before, like, you know, in the last couple of minutes that we've got?
Oh boy, I mean, do we want to go down that rabbit hole, or do we want a 30-second bit here?
Do a 30-second bit, just the quick elevator, you know, follow up to our previous discussion.
Yeah, my ultimate, like, summary of my feelings on this game is that the puzzles here are far better than what they initially appear to be at the beginning of the game. It's very, very satisfying puzzle game. It's a lot to discover. So if you like that feeling of discovery, of solving puzzles, of finding puzzles, there's very few games like this out there. I, however, maintain that the run-based nature of this game is maddening, infuriating. It's so frustrating, and really diminishes what is otherwise like what has the potential to be like one of my all-time favorites. It really brings it down every time you spend 30 minutes in a run trying to get one of a couple things done and are just screwed by RNG. It recolors everything that you've been doing. So I think it's a special game. I would encourage people to check it out if it sounds interesting. But the run-based aspect of it, I think, really kind of holds it back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you want the rest of our thoughts on Blueprints, I know Wesley and I played a good bit of it, and I know, you know, there was some parts on that I think that I agreed with you on, Matthew. But you know, check out our full discussion on our previous episode. And for those of you who joined us today, thank you all so much for joining us. But that's going to do it for us this episode. Once again, all of our socials are going to be here in the description, both for the Time Killers podcast and for each of us individually. You know, once again, don't forget to like, follow, leave us a review, subscribe to us on your podcast service of choice. Thanks for giving us the listen, and we'll catch you on the next one.